Machine.
Hi there, it's Claire here, and welcome to Hot Pod Time Machine. This is the podcast where we discuss a decision from our past which changed the trajectory of our future. And I'm very happy to welcome on this episode, it's the wonderful David Matranga. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. I always find the beginning of podcasts weird because I talk to people for at least 10, 15 minutes and then you're like, hi. We've just
Right, I know.
appeared.
Yeah, the formal introduction, yes.
So, David, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I know. You know, whenever I do panels or things like interviews like that, it's the same way. It's like, okay, now we're going to do this formal thing. Let's get that out of the way so we can just have a chat, you know?
Well, that's the thing. Like when I'm doing panels at Comic Cons, because we met at GalaxyCon in Richmond back in March. When I didn't do your panel, but when I do panels, I just get on stage and go, well, we were just talking about this, so let's just continue it right here. Like I just talk about. Some people don't like that, but I don't care.
No, I love that. I also think the audience might think that, oh, we're getting let in on something they were already talking about. You know, that's a cool, I don't know, that's cool.
Because it's just, I think interviews in general, I mean, I do a lot of research for Comic Cons, obviously, because I have to research my guests. I've seen quite a lot of very awkward interviews.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, not everybody. I mean, you might be wonderful at, you know, what you do, whatever that creative thing is. But then, you know, being interviewed or having a chat when it's in a sort of formal setting, not everybody, not everybody flourishes. Yeah.
It's a weird thing though, especially this is fine because we can just talk. We're just going to talk and have conversation and talk about this decision and blah, blah, blah. However, when you're sitting on a stage and there are bright lights and the front row is like that, you know, everyone's really excited. Yeah. It is so.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever have that moment where you're looking down and you're going, "This is weird, man. This is."
Well, you know, it's funny because I was just at a convention this past weekend and we were in a huge room with, I don't know, probably close to 1,000 people. Like there was a ton of people there. Maybe not that many. Maybe it was 500. I can never estimate those things, but a lot of people and a lot of guests also on the stage. And you also, that's always more nerve-wracking. If it was just me or just one other person, I'm less nervous than if it's like 10 other guests. I'm like, when do I speak? And this is going to sound so stupid. And oh my God.
But then that's up to the interviewer to go, David or whoever else, you've got to almost like be in control of the stage.
Yeah.
Or if people just want to be a bit chaotic, then just let them be chaotic. It's like, it's however you want to vibe it. You know?
Right.
But it is difficult, you know, but I've learned over the years to go, you like a teacher. You're like a teacher kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about conventions. It might crop up, I'm not sure, but we're here to talk about decisions or a decision.
Oh gosh.
Now, before you tell me what you've decided, I always ask our guests. So when I asked you to be on this podcast, I told you the format. What were the kinds of decisions and moments in your life that flashed before your eyes before you made the final decision?
Well, you know, it's not as much moments as it's really interesting that this is your topic. I find it so fascinating, and I think it's amazing just in general, because I think like decisions and choices are what like shape us, whether we know it or not. And the first thing I thought about was my own relationship to decisions, which is about, like a bit of a complicated relationship, if I'm honest. I think I can have maybe a higher anxiety level about decisions than other people. Maybe, I don't know, but I know that they've been a thing in my life where if I think too long about a decision, I go back and forth. I do all the pros and cons on one side and on the other side. And I'm so good at making the argument for both things that I can almost paralyze myself and go, oh my God, I don't know what to do now. So that was kind of what there were a couple of moments that came to me. One was an early on decision. I'm talking like 13 years old. And then one was probably about a decade, 15 years ago now. I guess it's maybe longer than that. But yeah, I also flashed to this idea of, I talk to people about acting a lot. I'm kind of a acting geek, a theater geek. I just love the craft of it. I love to talk to people about it. And so when anyone asks me about it, I'm like, all right, I'll give you my real opinion. You may not want this, but the thing that is attractive about like playing a character or understanding a character is exactly what this podcast is about, which is why did you make the choices that you made or that you make, that's a way in, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating enough to have like kept me going this long, so yeah, anyway, those were all my first initial thoughts about it.
So me asking you on this podcast already gave you anxiety about making the decisions and the choices. You're like, oh no, I'm having an existential crisis before.
There's all kinds of there's different types of decisions too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, to answer your question, I was like, I have a kind of a complicated relationship with choices, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I just do, like, to be real right off the bat.
Okay.
But there's all kinds of choices, right? There's ones that you're making that you don't know that you're making that might have an impact. There are ones that you're like, all right, I have this choice in front of me. What do I do? What do I want to do? And like, everybody does that in a different way. Everybody has a different process with that. So I don't know. It's fascinating to me.
That's interesting. From an astrological perspective, sorry, I'm going to get a bit nerdy before we start, because I know that you're an Aries. You told me this before.
Yes.
And Aries people, my friends that are Aries, they're usually like very bold and very like, they can be quite decisive and very, they just say what they think and it all comes out. And they don't hold on to anger too long. They're kind of like the kids of the zodiac. They're like, yep, here we go. We're just going.
It's a young sign, right? Yeah.
So but whereas I'm a Libra, I'm your opposite sign, which doesn't mean a bad thing. It's just it's like two jigsaw pieces that come together and they go, oh, vibe. But for me, I'm supposed to be very indecisive. But I would say this, David, when it comes to huge decisions, like life-changing decisions, I'll make the decisions so fast.
Really?
But when it comes to, I don't know what to wear, what eyeshadow to put on, I'm like, oh no, it takes me hours to think about it. I don't know why.
Dude, so that's fascinating for me. Because like, I am that way. I can run my mouth. I'm pretty reactive. I like to say what I think. I don't have like I'm not very great at small talk. Like, I'd rather just jump into it, get into the thing, whatever it is. But with decisions, I think what it really is that I, somewhere along the way, I started to doubt, because I do have an instinct right away on most decisions. And instead of just knowing and trusting that, I kind of will waffle back and forth and go, okay, what about this? What about this? And try to play out the possible scenarios of, okay, well, if I do this, this could happen, this could happen. And that can make you crazy, you know?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, sometimes you do just have to like shit or get off the pot, quite frankly. And I think especially with work, moving, those kind of decisions, it's like, I've watched people, no hate or judgment on people that are so indecisive they don't do anything, but I have watched certain friends and certain people just not live up to their full potential because the fear then sets in, and and my fear is the fear. So I'm like, no fear, just like go,
Right. I mean, that's always been a big fear for me too, is like letting my fear or my doubt or whatever stop me from reaching or getting to a place that I'd like to be, or just stopping the universe from, giving me what they want to give me.
Exactly. Okay. So now I'm dying to know what your decision is. So, okay, tell me, David, like, what is this decision that you made that changed your future?
So I'm going to give you one brief one, and then we'll get to the main one.
Okay.
But because this brief one is kind of the decision that started all the decisions, I think, for me. And then the one that I want to talk about is one that I made without all of the back and forth and the potential paralyzation around it. I made it out of all kinds of emotion, and it ended up being like the right thing.
Oh,
But the
okay.
first one, yeah, the first one is like, so I was 13 years old. I was in 8th grade, and I was a really, really good trombone player. And I was in the band, and it was something that I just took to, and I was pretty good at it. And I got this, like, I was being courted by the high school for the performing art and visual arts of my town. And to go and play trombone, I had done a summer workshop with them, and they were just really courting me, really ready to have me there. But it was a performing arts high school. It wasn't a traditional high school. There wasn't I had played some sports in middle school, and I wanted to kind of see where that could go to. And so I agonized about it, because I was like, look, these people want me, and that felt good. And oh, they think I'm talented, and that felt good. And yet so I went back and forth, and I didn't make that choice. I didn't go to that performing arts high school. I went to the public high school in my neighborhood that I was zoned to. Didn't know anyone there. And anyway, the reason this is short is that's where I ended up finding acting, performing, and I didn't stay in the band. I didn't stay playing trombone, and I really found the thing that I was, supposed to find, and I'm still doing. So I don't know. But that was the beginning of my relationship to decisions. So anyway, the one I want to bring up is oh my God, it's crazy. I was living in New York City. I had graduated from grad school. I was a gigging actor. I was bartending and auditioning all the time for, plays in New York City, for television shows in New York City, for the indie film. Just living that life. And I connected with a childhood friend when I was back in my hometown, and she was someone that I always kind of had something for, right? God, I'm gonna get personal right away.
Go, I love it. I love it.
And like, but it was never a thing. Like, she was a great friend of the family, and it was never like, well, and somehow we connected. And on that trip home, there was something more, and we started kind of dating long distance, right?
Okay.
I went back to New York, but I really thought like this was gonna be the thing. This was the one. This was it. Like, this was it. So long story short, we date for like 8 months or something, and out of the blue, she just breaks up with me, rips it out from underneath me, out of the blue. I didn't know. Now I know, like, all right, now I can see what the issues were. But at the time, I was just shocked. I was like, what? I thought this was everything that we both thought this was. And like, on a phone call, you're just going to be like, this is done. Don't call me anymore.
On the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the decision was right there. And I don't remember. I mean, it might have been a month. I like packed up my stuff, quit my job, told my agent, "Hey, I need I need to take a break. I'm going," and went back home to try and make this relationship work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the choice. That was the choice. Now, I could have just been like, all right, let me get good with this. I can't make it, this person made a choice, whatever. Let me go on with my life. But I didn't. I was like, I'm going to go and try to make this work. I don't understand this. I want to understand it. So I moved back home. I literally like packed up my car, sold stuff, shipped boxes, and drove away from New York City and everything that I was, trying to build there.
Wow, you really felt like for this girl.
I mean, I felt like I was compelled. And that's why I said, like, I made it out of, I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily the healthiest decision. Honestly, if I look back on it, I don't think it was a healthy decision. It wasn't made out of a place of foundational, I don't know, knowing or calm
No, it's
or
made out of heart and fire and that kind of
I,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And like, it it didn't end up, I mean, you know, I could talk forever about it, but it didn't end up working out, right? So
Sure.
I went home, I tried to make it work. I mean, I did all the things I knew to do at that time, and it didn't work, and I knew it wasn't. And then I went through this period of, because we had all these plans, right? I was kind of already needing a break from New York City, and I was gonna move to LA. And we were both gonna go to LA. That's someplace she'd always wanted to live, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
So it didn't work. And it ended up being, I never intended on staying in my home area, you know, or for as long as I did. But I went through this period of depression, and I was almost to a point where I was like, you know what, I don't know about this acting thing. Like, I'm just, like, I was ready to give it all up, figure
Wow.
something else out. Yeah, it was bad.
You were
It was,
knocked. Oh my God, you were knocked out. Oh my God.
yeah, it's till this day, it's still one of the, um, most impactful moments of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, just the whole thing. But the cool thing about it was, you know, somehow in my depression and my just not wanting to do anything and kind of feeling sorry for myself and just that whole thing, I got a call from one of the artistic directors of a theater, and he was like, "Hey, you know, we have this show. We'd love to audition, you know, have you audition for." And I was like, oh God. Even then I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. So I read the play and I
Mm.
started getting jazzed about it, and I loved the character. And I was like, and I mean, I don't want to, you know, interrupt me whenever you want to, you know,
No.
dive deeper into stuff, but I'll just give you the overview. And so I went in, and, you know, I'm one of those actors that loves the audition process in a way. It's kind of a game, and
Like a challenge or something.
yeah, it's kind of like sport in a way.
Okay. Okay.
It's weird because it's like we're all in competition, but really all you can do is go and leave your best self out there, your best choices, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I did that audition. I loved the director. I've since done 13 plays with this director that I didn't know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Might be 14 actually now.
Okay.
So like, and some of them were at that theater. I just had lunch with her, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. She's making a move and moving to the Northeast, and so she's become a creative peer and collaborator in my life. We trust each other implicitly in that sort of, in that creative space. And
Good.
so anyway, yeah, it ended up working out for the best. Honestly, I then spent like, I don't know, almost a decade doing the kind of work that I was craving to do in New York City, working with the kind of people that I wanted to work with. And my voice acting career went to a new level during that time as well. So it was this decision made on, like you said, I don't know, it could have been, it was heart, it was compulsivity, it was the need maybe even for control, or like, I gotta know what this is.
You're such an
And
Aries, such an Aries.
yes, I know, right? And then ultimately it beat me. It leveled me,
Yeah.
right? It leveled me. I was literally on the couch, you know? And then this thing just kind of, I don't know, lifted me out. And I don't know. Um, I definitely know I wouldn't be where I am right now if I hadn't have made that choice.
Interesting. So what I'm hearing, I mean, you clearly didn't follow your head. you know, because the smart thing to do would have been to go, no, I'm going to just leave this situation here and just take a step back. And often you know, when you're speaking there, I identify a lot with what you're saying. I've got a lot of fire in my chart. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, nah, I'm not letting this go. I'm not going to let this go. I'm going to dig really deep, and I want to get right to I want to know, you know, and I'm like a dog with a bone. Sometimes I'm like, I gotta and sometimes that gets you into a lot of trouble. But sometimes, more often than not,
it does. And I mean, I made a little bit of a fool of myself during that first like 3 months of being back, trying to make it work. Oh God. Anyway,
but that's the thing. Like, I quite like getting into a bit of trouble sometimes, because at the time it doesn't feel so good. But when you look back, I think, you know what? I like that part of me, because that part of me gets me out, you know, it gets me over there. And yeah, you might make a fool of yourself and things, but at least you're living an interesting life. You're making more interesting choices. You know, it's like a movie. You know, when you watch the movie and the character in the movie goes, I'm just going to do it anyway. And you're like, yeah, like that's it's like that, you know?
Right.
The fact it's led you to, we wouldn't have met possibly if, you know, all of these things, all of the people that you've met at the conventions, the jobs that you've had, that one like fiery heart moment, like spun it into where it is now, which is mad.
Yeah. And that's the one that I wanted, you know, that came to mind about when you asked me about this, because it was not made out of any real, like I've said, I mean, I've already said it, but it was not made out of any, you know, conscious thought. It was really like, all right, how soon can I pack a car? What am I, you know, it wasn't right away. Like I had to tie things up. I gave 2 weeks at a job. No, I don't even think I gave 2 weeks. I was like, I got to get out of here, man. I need 2 weeks. Yeah.
Have you always been like that though now? Like, so how old were you then? And like, are you a little bit like that now? Would you still say?
I guess at the time, let's see, I was like 32 or something.
Yes, you're not super young.
I'm like, not.
Oh, you were a young boy. It's fine. Like, oh, right. No, you were in your 30s. Okay.
Yeah, no, dude. Yeah. You know what? It's funny. Like, I think I think I learned more. Like there was no way I was going to be that person who was like 26 and started like getting it together. Like I was all over the place, you know? But I, you know, I fooled myself. I thought I had it all together. You know, I thought I was like, yeah, look at me. You know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I was really just making sometimes reckless choices, you know? The word reckless,
sorry,
I think
go
is
on.
interesting. No, go ahead.
So why do you think the word reckless is interesting? Would you consider yourself, even though you said to me earlier, oh, you know, I find it hard to make choices. So I thought we're going to start this podcast and you're going to be like this careful type person. But actually, are you reckless? You seem like someone that goes, fuck it, I'm going to follow my heart.
I don't think it just really, it's a kind of like case by case basis for me. I don't easily go, fuck it. Let's just fuck it. I'm doing this sometimes, but it's only if like I'm really compelled or what I believe in or something that I want or something that lines up with my value system or something is there, and then I can do it. I guess, yeah, when it comes to like matters of the heart or impulses from the gut, like I tend to follow those, but my head gets really strong sometimes and gets in the way of those. So there can be, when I'm making like business choices or, you know, buying a house or things like that, those are the ones where I really go back and forth about potential mistakes and stuff, you know?
That's the adult boring shit though, you know what I mean?
I know.
Nobody cares. It's like, oh, I gotta like sign a contract and talk to my partner or whatever. You're like, all of this stuff to weigh up. But like my work life, I would say, is very on point, and I'm very, very bullet pointed. I got a bullet point brain with work.
Yeah,
I like
same.
to do, if I'm doing stand up, if I'm performing, then I want to be good. You know, I don't want to just go in there, whatever. But
Right.
I've discovered being single, it's taken me, my 18-year-old self is just the same as my 39-year-old self. I'm
Right.
like, because the last time I was single, I was 18, so it was a bit of I was a bit shell shocked, you know, after 20 years. But
That's right.
I look at it and go, yeah, like when it comes to matters of the heart, I'm like, fuck it. Like I just get very like, life is short, have fun,
Yeah.
who cares? But it's like I can't do that so much now. I'm in my late 30s. I can't go too wild.
Yeah. You know, and it's really like what I've learned as I've gotten older about it is trying to check in with like how I feel about it. Like, does this feel like in line with who I believe myself to be? Does it, you know, and you don't have to like get too bogged down in the back and forth or the you know, both sides of a choice. But yeah, I don't know. I try to make things based on that more now than I did. But you know, I think I have been reckless. And I was going to say about the word reckless, like, you know, that can be it can be a positive reckless or a not so positive reckless. And sometimes when you're reckless, you hurt other people, you don't realize, you know, but sometimes it's the thing that needed to kind of blow up so you could get to the next thing, you know?
I completely.
But that's hard for me to trust.
Yeah, I get like a little. I feel like in my own brain, and I don't know about you, but I'm good all the time. My whole job is being a facilitator. Okay, I'm the interviewer, right?
Right.
Sometimes I get a little gremlin, like the little gremlin comes in, and I'm like, I really just want to cause trouble. I just like,
sure.
I get a bit like, I'm getting a bit bored now. Like I get a bit bored.
When you were growing up, like in school and things, were you a rule follower or were you more of a rule breaker?
I was a bit of a weird one as I got older. So I was quite a shy, arty, musicy child.
Yeah,
Very stereotypical introvert. And then when I was a teenager, as soon as I hit about 13, 14, I went to school. It was an all-girls school, and we had like these really buttoned-up uniforms and stuff, like tartan skirts and like shirts and whatever. And I used to like, I didn't want to be told what to do. I didn't like hierarchical systems of whatever. I just hate any hierarchical systems of anything. Yeah. And I liked to question things a lot, and I refused to sing the prayers or the hymns at prayer time in the morning. So I was like, I don't believe in God. So I was like 13. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't believe in God.
Right.
But I don't. I was like, and they were like, you've got to sing them. And I was like, yeah, but the Muslim girls and the Sikh girls don't have to sing them. So why do I have to sing them? And they were like, they had no answer for me. And I was like, okay. I was like, I didn't, I wasn't a bad child. I did very well at school, but I just didn't like, I just didn't like the rules. I hate rules now. But you got to work. You got to earn you got to earn that bread. So you got to follow.
I know. You know, it's funny. I think relationship to authority and rules or hierarchical structure or whatever, I've always had an issue with. I was a rule follower, I think, if I had to say that, if I had to turn it back on myself. But I did it so that I could then choose when I wasn't gonna. You know? Yeah. I think it's something like that. Because I was, oh man, you know, I rebelled against my religious upbringing, you know, all of that stuff. And in high school, I found bits of myself that are still what I think are my true self, you know? And so I think that's an interesting thing.
What was that like being from a religious background then, and you have this fire in you to be independent of thought and feeling? Were you, because like my parents, they weren't religious per se, but they were strict, you know? So they were like, don't do that and don't do this and don't do that, and I did it anyway. You know? Were you a bit like that, and was it hard to go against that?
Well, you know, So mine is a kind of a psychological journey. So check this out. I don't my dad was a Catholic priest and my mom was a Catholic nun, and they met at a Masters of Religious Education program that was being sort of beta tested, and they brought people from around the country, and they didn't live in the same place, but they met there. My mom was ready to leave kind of already. My dad, talk about decisions. This was the decision of his life,
Oh,
like leaving the priesthood. He was kind of a rock star priest, great speaker, like if there is such a thing, right? But he was like, So anyway, they weren't very strict. So they left, got married, had, me and my sister, and they weren't very strict, but my relationship to religion was seeing how much I felt that it oppressed my dad, that
interesting.
his relationship to it was almost it controlled him, or in my teenage brain. And so I wanted to shake him out of it, and so I rebelled against it because of that.
Right. And
Yeah.
do you feel now, looking back, that that might have worked? What did he think about your character, the things that you chose to do, and the life that you have chosen to lead?
I mean, he was very proud of me for the life I chose to. He supported me always. He never was, are you sure? Or, I'm not gonna help you there. He always supported me. He then became, after he left the priesthood, he got a master's in social work and became a psychotherapist.
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I know, crazy, right? We should do a podcast about just
I
that.
know. Just about dads. Just about crazy bloody dads. Jesus
So
Christ. Wow.
so he was practicing, he was trying to practice what he was learning and what he was talking to clients about. So he was very supportive, always very supportive and caring, but he wasn't always emotionally accessible.
Mm.
And so yeah, he never judged me for any of my choices. It was mostly as a teenager, I saw him, and I made up, who knows whether it was true or not, but in my brain, I thought, why is this always by the book? Why are you following all the rules? Why is this important? It seems like it brings you pain or is oppressive. Why are you? And so I tried in my teenage brain to like get that across. And it wasn't always, sometimes it was screaming curse words and,
Yeah.
like acting like a crazy person, but
That's kind of cool though that you
yeah.
it seems that your upbringing and your relationship with your father almost made you more kind of fiery and spirited, because you were like, look what the world could be,
Yeah, yeah.
as opposed to, I don't know if it messed you up, but a lot of people in those environments, it messes them up slightly, because they're like, there's this conflict. And I've met people who are our age where they go, yeah, my parents were uber religious, but I'm not, I'm an actor, I'm a comedian now, but like they have this, like it's like a bond, a chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear that. I think the only reason, I mean, there are things about it that I think impacted me negatively, but mostly, I mean, my parents were both creative too. So they're both musicians. My dad's a singer. My mom plays the piano and guitar. And so I grew up, they would go for extra money when we were a kid, go sing for weddings and funerals, and they would drag me along. And so we were always a creative family. So I think I got introduced to storytelling and connecting through creativity and collaboration. And they were also very open. So they weren't very strict religiously. They were open to other types of religions. They were great that way. I just, with my dad specifically,
Mm.
it felt like he could not let go of what the church, was, and I don't know. I took it upon my young self to try and break that sometimes.
That's interesting. But your father also is thinking, because you're a storyteller. your father
Right.
was a storyteller, really. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what he was doing. He was telling stories, you know.
Right.
They're moral stories, you know, but they're
Right.
stories of a type and of sort.
Right.
It's an interesting thing when we think about how our parents have brought us up and what they have given
Right.
to us. You know, because I often think about that now as I get older, and I look back and I think, yeah, like even though there was points of annoyance and I didn't understand, and my father wasn't bound by religion. My mother came from a very strict Catholic sort of family, but my father wasn't bound by anything like that. But he was bound by culture because my dad is Chinese, and he decided to marry a Western woman. And back then it was like, oh, what are you doing? That's weird.
Right.
And my mom's family were like, oh, that's weird. Like,
Right.
and then have these two strange children, you know what I mean? And it's like, they don't look like any of the family. And so, but he was bound by culture. So growing up, my dad he acted like his father, you know, very strict, you know, and it's so weird how human beings can't shake that crap, you know? Why?
Yeah. You know, I've been introduced to this term like ancestral trauma, or things just being passed down ancestrally that you might take on that really isn't even yours.
Yeah.
Like it might be, you know, from ancestors 100 years ago. And there's a lot of like modern psychology, I think, now that's and some books about talking about that, and like, you know, trying to uncover, like, are you carrying around something that really isn't yours? Like, let's, you know, put it down. But yeah, I think it's interesting because, you know, it's fascinating how, you know, you come into this world and the only thing you know are the people that are there in front of you doing their lives the way that they're doing them.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no other blueprint. You're just like, oh, that's your first impression of a man and a woman. And many years of therapy have told me that that's all of my messed up shit comes from my parents.
I mean, it's true. And like theirs from their parents and their parents from the, you know, like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me.
It's very strange. When my mum is not the most emotionally open person, and I have inherited, although I don't seem like it for my job, but I have inherited a lot of that where I'm like, I don't want to get hurt, don't want to be vulnerable, you know, and when it comes to this relationshipy stuff. And I sat in front of my mum recently, earlier this year, I went up to Glasgow to do a job, and I talked very candidly to my mum about therapy, and she went, oh, what kind of things do you talk about? And I went, I talk about you a lot, actually. And she went, oh, and she went all closed, you know, and she was going, oh, and I was like, yeah, all of my like messed up relationship shit is because of you and Dad. No offense. She was like, and she kind of, because I'm quite honest, I'm very brutally honest. And she went, oh, I'm very sorry about that. I was like, it's okay, Mum. Well, it's like, it's okay. Nice. I'm 39. I'll deal with it. But I thought about it, and her upbringing, she was talking, I don't want to talk about that here because it would be a disservice to my mum, but she talked a little bit about her parents. And then I started to understand about the ancestral trauma that you're talking about. And it's like, it takes a lot. I don't think my brother's going to shake it. It's taken a lot for me to shake it. But would you say are there any little quirks or weird things that were passed down to you that you've gone, whoa, I've got to get rid of that. You know, I've got to be my own person.
Yeah, I think that both my parents needed some sense of control and, you know, over their lives and their choices. And, you know, they did things that were kind of, you know, they made choices to commit their lives to God and the church and then left. And I don't know. I see little bits and pieces of my dad, the way that he would try to maintain some sense of control, you know, control. It's hard to define what that means because it's different for everybody. But, and I see my mom doing that. And, you know, some of my work is like, hey, let me let go of it. You know, let me just let go of it and see where it goes and try and go with the flow. I'm not the best, like, go with the flow person.
Oh,
you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, and the reason I feel like, I gravitated towards acting in a way because like this is my opinion, you know, every actor's different, but in my opinion, if you're doing it right, you've done your work, you've done your homework, and then you're up there and you're just letting impulses fly. You're listening and responding and just going with it, right? And you're taking whatever's being given to you and putting it through the funnel of what that person and then reacting. And that's what makes it alive, this like back and forth amazing thing. And when that happens, it's magic, dude. The room changes. It's magic, you know?
I'm not an actor. I only did a short course earlier this year out of sheer curiosity.
Sure, that's amazing.
And I loved it. I don't want to be an actor, but I would just do it for a hobby. If I had all the money in the world, I'd just do courses all the time. I just loved it so much. But what I got from acting for the very short time I experienced it as a total amateur was, it's like the best therapy, because I'm quite repressed in a lot of my very inner emotions, and there was scenes I had to do that brought up some hard trigger points for me.
Right.
And I thought, no, this is a chance. I'm not going to be scared.
Right.
And I had to speak to the teacher about some of the things, but and say, hey, like, can I do it like this or that? And they were like, yeah, whatever. And it was great. And I would go home at night feeling like, it felt like you know, when the adrenaline leaves your body, you feel shattered, tired, but also happy, relieved.
Yeah.
It was so
there's like
great.
a piece to it. Yeah. And I think what I think where my mind was going there was that like I'm able to do that on stage or in front of a camera or in front of a mic in a way that I'm not always able to do in my real life.
Yes.
So in my real life, I want some sense of control or something, but when I get to do that thing, it's like that flies out the window and something happens where it's just pure raw following of impulses, you know?
Yes.
So I think that's what it was like. It was always a safe space for me to go and do that.
Yes.
Get to do that. So I would like to bring a little bit of that into my real life, you know, more, I think. And that actually speaks to making decisions in a way, because, you know, that's what life is a series of just making decisions all the time. Oh,
it's really tiring. I'm like, what do I eat? When do I eat? What do I do next?
I know. And sometimes I'm like, okay, it's the afternoon. I'm done. I'm just going to sit down. I'm not doing anything. I can't do it.
Sometimes I think, I wonder what it was like. I almost forget to go back to that time when you're a little baby, when you're a toddler. And, you know, you're getting your face wiped and you're getting fed and you're just like a blob. How good would that be? Just to be a giant blob, like, just feed me, just wash me, just like... All your needs are met and you don't have to do anything to get your needs met, you know? Like, I mean, maybe cry every once in a while. Imagine doing that now. Your partner would be like, I know. What are you doing? Feed me.
Sometimes I feel like we all are still that, like, just internally crying or screaming, all just trying to act like we're adults.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, I mean, my whole life, my whole job is going, yes, yes. And sometimes inside I'm like, oh my God. Like,
I know.
Or if you're not getting something right and you're going, I have to just keep going. Like,
right.
So it's just that we've learned as adults to put on the mask, you know, and I guess what you're talking about when you're on a stage, I find this a little bit with stand-up, because stand-up's the thing that I do where it is a bit more creative. And I did a show recently and I thought it was the Sagittarius full moon. And I was like, it was last week. I was like, I'm just going to go with it. It's a full moon. I'm going to go. Right. And I thought it's a weird thing to say, but I was like, yes, it's emboldened me. Yes. So I stood on the stage and for the first time, I said to my friend, she went, how are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? Because I'd had a few knocks with work that knocked my confidence. I hadn't been on the stage in that way in a while. And I went, I don't care anymore. I don't care. No one's dead. Don't care. I'm going to go on and be my weirdest whatever fuck itself.
Right.
and just stood there, and I was like,
Oh,
and it's, you know, when people, and one woman was going like really, and I was like, yeah, if I just that one woman, it wouldn't even matter if, and no one else was laughing, she was great, and she was going, oh my god, and I thought, yeah, man, people are
yes.
getting it. I was like, yes, and I was like, I will fucking care, fuck this. I was like, and it was good, that flow, that energy, so good.
Yeah, that's amazing. I stand up, man, stand up to me is like the ultimate risk,
Oh
like
really?
in
Have you ever
performing.
done it? Have you ever done it?
No. So it's really interesting. Like people in my personal life know me to be this like kind of kooky, off the wall, random, say make up names, say whatever, kind of whatever, right? Um, and so, but then, you know, but then I can polish it up and make it look like this or be this person or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like stand up is exactly what you said, which is like, fuck it. I'm just going to go be my weirdest, craziest, whatever self comes out. And like, to me, I've always wanted to try it. I don't know what I would do, but I've always wanted to try it. I've never done it though.
You
Yeah,
should do it. You should.
I know.
You
It'd be
should.
crazy.
Like
Ah,
it's so weird what you think you're going to talk about. I thought I would exercise all my family shit on stage,
right.
and I started there, and then I thought, no, I think just telling stories and things that interest you
Yeah.
is fine. And then on top of that, I've started to think, how weird can we get though? Like, how I want to really freak people out. Like, I want to get my guitar and start singing weird songs, and then just start talking again, and just be like, so why not try? You should try it. You should do it.
People do that. Yeah, the stuff you just described, like people do that. I mean, like one of the things I love about Zach Galifianakis is, and his relationship to comedy and stand up is interesting. I heard him recently talking about it, but the fact that he would go up there and just like, I don't know, play a song on the piano and then say a couple of things. There'd be like huge silences. Like it's I don't know. I'm fascinated by someone who can go up there and just not try to do the thing like you think it should be done, but actually just do whatever you're going to do.
That's the thing. Like you can't stop your personality, I think, with stand up coming out eventually. And I watched I got this masterclass thing for a year, and I watched the Steve.
Oh yeah,
it's so good. I watched the Steve Martin teaches comedy. I'm watching it at the moment, and he mentioned George Carlin and all of these amazing comedians, and he was saying they didn't start being the characters they are, but that character came out of them. That is part of their character. So as I go on, I would like to be the purest me, and I'm wondering if that's the same for acting. Like, even though you're playing roles, does that come out of you? Like, does like David come out in every single role? Is there a little bit of you there?
Yes, I definitely think so. I mean, I think that that's part of what some of my training was to, you know, find the thing in me that is like this person as much as I can. And if it's already a big part of me, well, then it's already there. If it's a small part of me, then I turn it up, I cultivate it, I grow it, I whatever. But I love what you said about that, because about when you think about some of these comedians, it took them some time to find on stage in their comedy what their thing is. Like, you know, it wasn't always there at the beginning.
No, it's like anything creative. You know you want to do it. You're drawn to it. Acting, comedy, music, whatever.
Right.
And I find that with music, I like heavy music, right? I like metal, and I like angular music. I like things like Fugazi and things, but that's not what my music sounds like. Actually, over time, it's very melancholy and depressing and sad and ethereal. I don't know why it sounds like that, but it's clearly I exercise the saddest parts of my soul in music, like a proper emo bastard. Like a proper, I'm crying inside, David. I'm crying inside. And then, I mean, you know, there's parts of you that can be pulled out, you know, and it's interesting to me, you know.
The word that keeps coming up for me that I threaten to write about or do a podcast about or do something on my own about is the word authenticity.
Okay.
I just like, I think that no matter what you're doing, if you're up there and you're your authentic self as much as you can be, people are going to respond to it. Like we crave that, and we don't even know that we do. And yeah, so when I'm taking on a role, I mean, that's what I'm trying to find my way in and use all of who I am to create some type of authentic experience, whether even, and if it's just in front of a mic, then I've only got my voice to do it with. And that's awesome. I did a play last year, a world premiere of a new play. And it's kind of like one of those dream roles. It was in the round, smaller theater. It was at the Alley Theater in Houston. Great director, great cast. And it's like, that's to be in a room with other people and have something, like I said, when something authentic shows up, like people kind of take a breath or stop, or the room changes, and it's just, I don't know, it's fascinating.
We feel it more now because I think we do live in a time where even authenticity is being sold to us. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're so authentic. Oh God, you gotta, even with marketing and things, I used to teach marketing. It's like, make your Instagram feed rough and ready and authentic. Everything is just marketed.
Exactly. And so in doing that, sometimes it becomes inauthentic. You know what I mean? Like, and it's about, because we're all told about that. And like, no matter what your career is these days, everybody's told about branding. You got to brand yourself. Like you gotta, that's how you move forward. That's how you get the bigger paycheck. That's how you, whatever, move up the hierarchical structure or whatever. And, I think people know it though. I think people somewhere know, is this truthful or not? And you can feel it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But 100%.
Yeah. I honestly feel like people can say that about branding and marketing, and yes, it's useful to know about things like that and algorithms and blah 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 blah, and all these are modern tools.
Right.
I think of them as tools. Social media is a tool, but it's not going to be the making or breaking of you, because the making and breaking of you is what's in here and what you know in here. And if you can combine that and be very real, and I mean, think about the biggest icons and legends of the world, acting and music, whatever. They were wholly themselves. Bowie, Freddie Mercury, even like actors like Pacino and De Niro. I mean, I feel now, even if they were young and in the Instagram age, I can't see them being TikTok influencers or whatever. They would just be actors,
Right. Yeah. And I've always sort of been pulled between those two things of like, hey, I just want to do this thing, but I also have to use the tools, But I like but yeah, you're right. They're tools. And if you don't have the authentic thing to back it up, then it doesn't really matter one way or the other.
Exactly. By all means, use all the bloody tools in the world. It's lucky that we've got them, as long as you come from the heart, no matter what you do. Because people sniff it out, whether you're on TV, radio, or on freaking TikTok,
Yeah.
So I don't really mind watching someone on TikTok, as long as I'm like, nah, you're all right. I think you're cool.
Right.
Like, you know what you're talking about. And so,
exactly. And that's the thing too, is nowadays it's like a scrolling thing. People are scrolling up and they're looking at reels, and when something is like, oh, I'm going to stay here for a minute because something's happening that's real or something,
exactly.
And that's I don't know. That's, I think, what I've craved that from a young person. Like I saw some of that in how my parents were, and they had great friendships and they created a great community of people. And in some way, I feel like even pursuing acting, I've been craving that kind of honest, real community in some way.
Do you think you'll get it, or do you not have it right now?
It's hard. I don't say, I definitely don't have it in the scale that my parents did. I don't know how they did what they did, but I grew up with 3 other couples that were ex-priests and ex-nuns.
Right.
And they all kind of like were searchers and learners and seekers and teachers, and they wanted to be in the world and understand. And so they would do things, you know, check in with each other. If one of them had a crisis in their life, they would call like a meeting and process through it together. Like, I would love to have something like that. There are things in my life that are going in that direction, and I want to cultivate those and grow those, but it's just it's different now. I don't know. I think a lot of things get in the way. Ego gets in the way sometimes. I don't know, fear and people not feeling safe, and you know, so I don't know. It's a hard thing.
So maybe we need you to lead us, David. We need you to lead us to the light.
God, if I find myself there, I'll grab some people. I think that's the thing that I found. You know, you talk about loving loving the courses and like, if you had all that, just do learning, and even if it wasn't a career, I think one of the first things I found about acting was not even the performing aspect of it, but the sitting in a room with you know, because typically if you're working on a play, you come together at the first rehearsal, you read that play, and you talk about it.
Yes.
And in that talking about it, there's this exchange of ideas and thoughts, and invariably people start talking about their own lives. And I don't know, that's where I first was like, oh, this is kind of like that, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I like
knows,
that.
man?
It is hard. We're all spread out in the world, and as you get older, people have different lives and all that kind of stuff. But
right, that's true.
There's nothing stopping you from being our leader in the light, David.
God, who knows? Maybe this is the beginning.
Guys, this is the beginning of David's crazy cult. I mean his amazing group of creative people. David's.
Yeah, exactly. It could be either one.
The Matranga Maniacs. I'm sorry, I would buy that T-shirt.
It does have a nice ring to it. The
Matranga Maniacs. I want it.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to make that shirt. Someone's going to make that shirt.
You know what? If I do host a panel, I'll make that shirt and I'll wear it.
Oh, God.
I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait and see if I can host a panel just to wear the T-shirt. Just sit there and just look at you dead in the eyes.
That'll be the inside joke of inside jokes. People will be like, "What is she doing? What is happening?"
Yeah, like what? Why are they staring at each other weirdly? And why is she wearing that T-shirt? And then slowly all the cast start getting the T-shirts over panels over time.
Right, over time.
Over time, and then eventually we might all have the same haircut.
Yeah, sure. God, that sounds insane.
Maybe I start to draw in the beard thing.
Yeah, stubble.
Yeah, I'll do exactly like you, and like then I'll start to adopt an American accent. Oh, yes.
Yes, God, I want to hear that.
It's gonna be awesome. Watch the space, you guys listening. Anyway, David, it has been. I knew it was going to be awesome, but it's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you.
Yes, same. Thank you for having me. I knew it was going to be awesome too. I was looking forward to it. So it's awesome to be here.
It's a nice thing when you meet folks. I've got a rule in life, especially in my adult life. If I meet people that I vibe with and I feel in my heart they're good folks, I try and hold on to them. Not in a creepy way. But in a good way where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep in touch with you now and again. And we'll...
Yep.
Because I think it's important. Yep. It's like a community thing as well. It's like
It is.
Keep your folks close.
I mean, you're doing it. Like, and that's what it is. If you vibe with somebody, stay and not enough. I think if we all did that more, it would be a different place.
We need to keep doing it. We need to start. Yeah. There's nothing stopping us. Hashtag Matranga Maniacs.
God, maniacs. I don't know.
This is the beginning. It's okay. We can have a group meeting after this.
Yeah.
I want to be HR. If this is the cult, group, I can be HR. I'll be.
I need to look at all the different definitions of maniac before we decide.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm just like, fuck it, go for it. Like,
no.
Go with it.
Yeah.
Where's your sense of heart? Where's your fire?
Oh God, I know. Go.
Just go with it. Thank you very much, David, and thank you to everyone who is listening along on Spotify and Audible, and thank you to those watching on YouTube. Hit the notification bell, you guys. Hashtag Matranga's Maniacs. So please do the things. And we'll see you again soon. This has been Hot Pod Time Machine. I'm Claire. This is David. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.